in Rush Samani, as the Vice President CTO from McAfee EMEA. Rush, thank you so much for coming.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, pretty good. A little bit stressed out after all these technical problems.
At least you don't have to wear a suit. At least you can come in your jeans.
Yeah, well, that's a plus, exactly. Well, you don't want to see me with him without a cap. That looks kind of weird. I think we have like 5,000 videos up on YouTube, and there's only one with me without a cap. There's a reason for this, trust me. Yesterday, huge press conference here from Intel, and the big topic is, we just came from a Vodafone panel, and it was all about security over there, right? And of course, McAfee, Intel, we have to talk about security. New strategy, somehow. I really like the statement that you made yesterday, talking about, the good old days. We've had these hardware manufacturers here, we've had the software manufacturers there, and in between intelligence and security, nothing was happening at all. You guys are going to change this.
Well, I think when we start to talk about what we're beginning to do, much of our focus is around a collaborative strategy. And, it's not a collaborative strategy solely between Intel, McAfee, and Wind River. It is a collaborative strategy between energy infrastructure providers as well. I just want to make that clear. There was somebody on Twitter earlier who was saying, shock, McAfee collaborates with itself. Listen, we're collaborating with the industry and the ecosystem. Okay. So the intention of this is, let's have a look at what the issues are. And, when we start to talk about the energy environment itself is a really, really complicated beast. And, and Hannes basically started to touch on this. And so the intention here is, let's have a look at how we can start to implement security from the end to end. In other words, from your house to the lights on in your house, right up to, the generation of the electricity and the generation of the energy itself. It's absolutely critical. And, I don't want to freak people out here, but I said this once before, which is tomorrow's cloud will be keeping our water clean and we'll be keeping the lights on.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about, your home movies on Dropbox. I mean, that is important, but it's not critical.
Absolutely. That's quite interesting how you're defining the cloud of tomorrow, right? Because, at the end of the day, I thought, whenever someone came up with this kind of buzzword of cloud computing, I've been showing them a video from the mid-'60s about time-shared computers that the MIT did at that time together with IBM, right? I said, my God, that's got them 50 years old, right? Just, now let's do something with it. Well, let's educate people about what the cloud is all about.
Well, there is no such thing as the cloud.
Exactly.
It doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Right? There are companies that provide services over the internet and they market that as cloud computing. Yeah. And so just because you're using cloud doesn't make it automatically insecure and doesn't automatically make it secure. And you still have a responsibility as a cloud customer to do your due diligence. Yeah. I always say the issue about cloud security isn't security, it's transparency.
Okay.
And actually, I'm working on a new book, the new Cloud Security Alliance Guide to Cloud Computing, with Brian Honan and Jim Revis. So we do a lot of talking about, the work that we're doing in industry around beginning to put the security into cloud computing and the transparency, more importantly.
Transparency, good point. I mean, in general, isn't it also about, well, I don't think that we need to create awareness anymore after what happened last summer, right? Everybody knows somehow about security. But aren't we relying too much on what the industry is actually providing us? Do we also need to get educated about, what we really do and how we have to protect our privacy for ourselves?
So I think we need to re-engineer this privacy debate here because, everybody talks about privacy in terms of the internet's the death of privacy. And I've heard that, it's a ridiculous statement. We never had absolute privacy. Yeah. Right? We could go out and, he could take a photo of us smoking something very, very strange and then show it to all their friends, right? Yeah. And we had no control over that. Yeah. The issue about privacy on the internet really comes down to three key factors. First and foremost, technology has basically created, or the speed and the volume with which we can send messages has increased exponentially. So whereas you can show a photo to 20 people, you can now post it onto Twitter and it can go to 1,000 people. There was a UK girl who posted on Twitter, Barack Obama.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, that was hilarious.
What's our president doing in Ukraine?
Yeah.
Barack Obama? You know what I mean? And many years ago, we'd have laughed that off. So when we start to talk about privacy in the new world, I think the key things we need to ask is, is it consensual? Did I allow you to do this?
Yeah.
Is it transparent? In other words, do I know what you're doing? Like, I don't know what phone you have today, but can you tell me one application, what data it collects, where the data goes, what they do with that data, who they share the data with, and so forth? You don't. So we have no transparency. And more importantly, it's about value. And I did this argument, which is, if you care about privacy, why do you have a loyalty card?
Oh, that's a fantastic one. You shouldn't even have a cell phone then, right? I mean, in terms of how I can track your location.
But
and how
it's
it's
value,
getting
though.
Yeah,
But
okay,
it's value.
exactly.
So
but the loyalty card makes no sense. I totally agree with you.
Well, to an extent, it makes no sense. I think, like, ask yourself a question. I once went into a shopping center and there was a chocolate manufacturer giving away free chocolate in exchange for personal data.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I said something very inappropriate, which I won't repeat here, but I said, that's ridiculous. I used 4 letters, actually, not ridiculous. But I said, this is ridiculous. I said, and there were a queue of 40 people.
Yeah.
But,
Wow.
I kind of thought, well, they perceive the value of their personal data to be equivalent to a chocolate, which is okay.
For them.
For them, but then
It's your
you ask the
decision.
question, well, we need to start to educate people. People need to start to understand the value of their data. And, before I go, I want to leave you with a question here. So you drink coffee, right? You're in Germany, of course you drink coffee.
No. Actually, I don't drink
No?
coffee. I live in Taiwan. I drink tea.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I'm English, so everywhere I go, everybody drinks coffee, so I'm not used to the environment. But, you have these coffee card loyalty schemes.
Yeah.
And I was reading that, every time you go there, every time you spend money, you get points.
Right.
And there was one particular scheme that I was reading, and they said, do you know how much money you have to spend to get a free cup of coffee? How much do you think it is?
I would guess like 30, 40 euros.
Yeah, it was about £75.
Holy. So that's almost 100 euros. That is 100
100
euros.
euros, yeah. So £100, 100 euros is what it costs you for a free cup of coffee if you pay with personal data. Ask yourself a question. Do I want this coffee company to know my physical movements, what I buy, everything about my personal contact details, because you've got to you've got to fill it all in,
Yeah.
for a £75 cup of coffee?
Exactly. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It is, but then why are so many people signing up to these schemes?
Because they don't know about it.
Exactly. Well, I think they do know about it,
Yeah.
but they kind of put their heads in the sand. So, when we start to talk about security and privacy, we can jump up and down because of all of these major stories. But
Yeah.
look, we also have an obligation. And just before I go, I wanted to let everybody know that we've launched McAfee Mobile Security, free of charge. It's available on the Android and the iOS platform, and you can download it. It's free of charge. It's mobile security for all of these platforms.
Yeah.
And it's the full version. It's not a cut-down version or anything like
Yeah,
that. It's a full version. So, download it, install it, protect yourself, protect your life.
Absolutely.
Start to ask questions about, what are you going to do with my data? Everybody talks about security being the scary thing or the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. But I think with Intel and McAfee and Wind River, we're starting to provide the solutions for people now.
I think you made a very, very good point. We're saying, what, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to give so much personal data away to a company for 70 pounds coffee? Actually, I think most of the users don't even know the value of their personal data. Plus, this free coffee is somehow just 2 clicks away.
But it's not
Because
free.
It's not free at all. There's nothing like free. We were constantly saying, what, of course Facebook is free and Twitter is free, but you're becoming the product. If a product is free on the internet, if a service is for free on the internet, it turns you into the product.
And I've got no qualms with Twitter or social
No.
media. I wouldn't say I love Twitter, but I use Twitter.
Yeah,
I probably use it a little bit more than I really want to. But that to me, I'm okay with, because it's consensual, it's transparent to me, right? And more importantly, I get value from it in terms of the service. Those are the 3 questions you need to ask.
Yeah.
Which is, is it my decision? Do I know what's going to happen to it? And am I going to get the appropriate value? And if the answer to that is yes, then by all means. But if the answer to that is no, just start to ask questions, I think.
Rush, one last prediction or a little bit of an outlook in terms of security and in terms of awareness. Do you think that people are actually, I know that they are aware, but I think it's somehow trying to get them out of their comfort zone as soon as they have to educate themselves more and more about security and what they can actually do. Even though, in my opinion, it's about very simple little tweaks that you have to do in your everyday life to really protect your personal data and get it onto a new security level. Do you actually think that people will, or our societies will reach the state of mind where we are really aware of this, where each and every, well, you would love to have the McAfee sit on each and every smartphone, I'm pretty sure about that. But where
We're trying.
But where each and every smartphone is more secure, where we are actually really starting to read policies for software that we are installing, which is a pain in the microphone when you're reading it on a little 4-inch device, right? And it has like 90 pages. No one does it.
So look, I want to answer your question slightly differently, and I think the question that I'm going to try to answer is: will we ever get to a stage where people start to everybody takes security seriously, everybody has it installed by default? I think the first answer to that is yes, because we're going to give free software for everybody, right? Yeah. And we've already made that announcement. But I want to give you a real life story. We went to Dubai over Christmas, and we went with another family. And when we got back, I got a phone call from the other family, and they said, we've been broken into. Our iPad's been stolen. Right. I said, is there any signs of a break-in? I watched CSI, right? So I kind of said, my mind was wearing away. And they said, well, there's no sign of a break-in. I said, well, okay, look. Give me your login credentials for the McAfee security, and I'll be able to track the device, and we'll know exactly where it is. Okay. Did you install it? No. So what should we do? Well, get in your car, go to the Apple Store and buy a new iPad.
Yeah.
And now these individuals, my friends, have it installed.
Yeah.
So look, you don't want to be like that. You don't want to be the sort of person that goes, oh my God, my phone's been lost or stolen. And by the way, when we talk about mobile devices, you may not believe the malware stuff and so forth. You may not think it will ever hit you, but you're going to lose your phone at some point. So at least you can remotely lock, wipe, and upload your data, or even find your data. Just protect yourself, protect your life, protect your family before you leave it on a train, before you leave your device, or you get malware on it, I think.
Fantastic final words. Ihr könnt die McAfee Suite für eure, it's on Android, it's on iOS. Are you also supporting Windows Phone?
Android and iOS for now.
Okay. Android, iOS, es ist kostenlos. Thank you so much, Rush.
You're welcome.
That was a great talk. And wir machen jetzt eine kurze Werbung und haben dann sofort den nächsten Gesprächspartner dabei.